In today's video, we break down the cost of living in El Paso. Whether you're single or a family of four, we're going to cover property costs, safety, the overall quality of life, and we'll also touch on a couple other things like food, entertainment, and travel expenses. And it starts right now. Hello everyone, and if this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Kenneth and I'm a local realtor here in El Paso, Texas. And if you want to learn more about buying, selling, and even investing in real estate, start right now by hitting that subscribe button, clicking that bell notification so you don't miss a video. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is the quality of life index. Really quickly, just to touch on the index, basically the data is pulled at a national level and given a score of 100 for the average. So if our index number is higher than 100, then we know our properties are more expensive than the national average, and vice versa. If we see a number that is lower than 100, then we know we are cheaper than the national average. Now that you know that, let's jump into it. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is the quality of life index. Now this goes over purchase power, safety, healthcare, climate, price to income, traffic, and pollution. Now we have an overall score of 178 compared to the national average of 100, which is actually a good thing, because when you look at all these categories and we're scoring higher, it means that our quality of life is better overall in these categories than the national average. Really quickly before we move on, I do want to mention, if you're currently trying to move to El Paso but you're worried about how am I going to sell my house and buy one over here at the same time and do it seamlessly so I don't have to do a double move, I'm going to link to a video right up above, and you can go ahead and watch that video and it'll kind of give you some more steps and breakdown about how to actually do this. So like I said, you don't have to do a double move and the process is as seamless as possible. Okay, so let's look at the index and how it compares in housing, renting, and cost of living. So here we can see that housing in El Paso is right around an 81 and Texas is at a 93. So obviously we know that Texas is still below average at a national level. Going even deeper into a city level, we see that it drops all the way down to 81, which is good. That means the cost here for housing is lower than, our national average. Moving on to renting, right? We see that El Paso sits at 40 compared to something like New York, which is at 100. So obviously New York, if you know anything about real estate, it is super expensive and you don't get a whole lot of real estate for what you're actually paying for. So it's good to see that renting is so cheap here in El Paso. For those of you that aren't thinking about living here long term, you know that you can live comfortably here and not break the bank. Moving on to cost of living is at 56%, almost half of the national average. So even if you don't make a lot of income, don't feel like you have to be super wealthy to live here, right? There are, some really, really good neighborhoods and they don't break the bank, so it's always a plus. Okay, so now that we have all those baselines covered, let's talk about some more detailed pricing on what it's like to actually live here. So when we look at the national home price, we see that it's right around $290,000 across the US. When we look at El Paso specifically though, it drops dramatically down to $160,000, which is great. It tells us that the real estate here isn't too pricey. Now, when we look at rental prices, just in case you're not thinking something long term, they're ranging anywhere from $700 to $1,200 depending on the size and location. So, depending on how many bedrooms you want, that is obviously going to make the price fluctuate. And, if you're looking for something closer to the interior of the city, then it's definitely going to be a little bit more pricier compared to living somewhere on the outskirts. Okay. Moving on to mortgage, okay, the average mortgage here is right around $1,100, okay, and that does include interest, taxes, and insurance, and that is based off of a 3% interest rate with the $160,000 price tag, okay. Interest rates are bouncing anywhere from 3 to 5% on the high end, but most cases they're around the 3%, and I've even had some clients with great credit and great data that brings them below the 3s, okay. Moving on to utilities, okay? This is obviously going to fluctuate depending on the size of your family and your usage, but heating, cooling, water, gas, electric ranges from $120 to $300. Now, the necessity that we all know and love, internet, is right around $50 a month. Now, if you have somebody in the family that is a gamer, or maybe you guys have a lot of people pulling internet at the same time, maybe that upgrade to $100 will be worth it. Quick side note, if you are thinking about buying or selling here in the El Paso area, if you're moving down or you're moving out of town, then be sure to shoot me a text. My number is 915-760-1706. It'll be linked down in the description, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Moving right on to safety, I know that is one of the largest concerns that people have. You know, how safe is the place where I'm moving? And we rank actually number 5 of the safest cities in Texas according to safewise.com. So these numbers are based on violent crimes, gun crimes, and property crime rates, and that information is all indexed, and basically we can see that we are in the top 5. So it's just great to know that, you know, here in our community we really try to take care of each other and, you know, keep these crime rates down. Bringing us to our next topic is income. Now, the average income for the person in El Paso, if you're single, is around $25,000 a year annually, and if you're a couple, about $50,000 a year annually. So let this serve as a good baseline for you to understand where you are and what the average is here, just so you know how that criteria meets up over here in El Paso. Okay, so let's move on to my favorite category, which is food. Okay, we all know and love food, and the prices here are actually not that bad. So when we look at a meal at a low-end restaurant or fast food, you know, if it's just you, you're looking to spend right around $10 on average, okay? Now, if you want a meal for 2 at a mid-range restaurant, 3-course, you know, appetizer, entree, and dessert, you're probably gonna be right around $50, okay? If you're a beer lover, a domestic beer for a pint is going to be right around $3, okay? If you want something that's an import, you know, for a 12-ounce small bottle, you're looking at $3.81, okay? Now, moving on to coffee. I love coffee in the mornings. I'm sure you do too. That ranges anywhere from $1 to $4, okay? And that range is going to be based on, you know, do you drink coffee at home? Do you get, you know, coffee from the gas station? Or are you going to, you know, something like Starbucks where it's a little bit more pricier? Okay, and moving on, even if you're working from home like many of us are due to COVID, that doesn't matter because you're still going to need to take trips down to the grocery store or to see friends and family. Now, let's talk about transportation. So gas prices right now are right around $3 per gallon at the time of recording this video, which is awesome compared to places like California and stuff like that. Sorry for you Californians, but hey, if you're coming to El Paso, come enjoy the cheap gas. Okay, if we're talking about Uber, it's about $1 per minute of travel. So if I'm getting an Uber that's 20 minutes away, I can expect to spend anywhere from $20-25. Okay, if you have an EV, I know those are super popular in California as well, it's about 1/3 of the cost of gas, so just make sure to factor that in when budgeting your plan. Next on our list, that brings us to entertainment. Now, you can't live here and not have some fun every now and then, so let's go ahead and break this down. Okay, entertainment costs are relatively pretty cheap here. So a movie ticket is around $7 to $12, depending on the type of movie theater that you go to and the day of the week that you decide to go. Gym memberships can be anywhere from $10 to $50. Again, that's going to depend on the gym. Are you going to somewhere that's open to the masses, or do you want something that's more private? Bowling, $10 to $20, arcade, $1 to $20, mini golf, $7 to $10, and go-kart, $8 to $25. So as you can see here, you can still have fun by yourself, as a couple, or even as a big family, and not be worried about breaking the bank. Okay, moving on to the second to last category before we reveal the actual price tag of what it costs to live here if you're single or a family of 4, we're going to quickly cover childcare. Now, childcare can range anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month. Now, in some cases, it can be less, about $200 a month for the after-school programs. So if your kids are in school and you know you are going to opt in to pick them up late, sometimes it's a lot cheaper than the $500 a month. Now, why is there such a big range? Well, it's going to depend on, one, the type of daycare, right? Is it a public daycare or is it a more private daycare? And also the length of stay, right? Do you need them to watch your kids half the day or basically the full day if you're putting in, you know, long hours? And now for the data you guys have all been waiting for, let's talk about the total number of what it's like to live here. So if we look at the average living cost, if you're single, that's around $780 a month, and if you're a family of 4, that sits right around $2650 a month. Now, that is obviously going to fluctuate based off everything that we talked about, right? What type of utilities are you doing? What is your usage? How much are you spending on entertainment? How big of a house are you buying, right? These are all things that are causing the numbers to fluctuate, but on average, these are the price points that you can depend on. Now, one thing thing to keep in mind, if you're moving here from somewhere else and you currently have a home over there and you're thinking about selling that home, check out this video. It is going to talk about how we actually find your home's true value with real data in real time, not using any automated BS. Right below that, you're going to see a video that YouTube recommends you watch based off of your interest.